Second base is bad. Let's talk about it. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Thursday, October 24th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, and let's take a look at way too early top 12 second baseman for 2025. And the first 4 includes Ketel Marte, Jose Altuve, Ozzie Albies, and Marcus Semien. You notice no Mookie Betts at this position anymore. He only has shortstop and outfield moving forward. So that's a big blow to the position. Chris, let's focus here on Marcus Semien, who had himself a bit of a down season, wondering if maybe Father Time is catching up. Do you see a bounce back coming for Marcus Semien?
So this is kind of the tough thing with Semien, and I think with Jose Altuve to a certain extent too, where they've had such weird skill sets for such a long time that it kind of renders a lot of our attempts at analyzing them sort of useless, right? Like Semien has never hit the ball hard. So the fact that he didn't hit the ball hard in 2024, I don't think tells us very much of anything, right? His strikeout rate was tied for the lowest it's been since his 2019 breakout. Quality of contact, not great, but actually his ex-WOBA was only the 3rd lowest in the last 6 seasons. So I don't think there's much sign of a skills decline unless you believe that for whatever reason, whatever Marcus Semien was doing over the past 5 or the previous 5 years to outperform his expected stats, mostly making a lot of contact and pulling the ball in the air and hitting a bunch of home runs right to left field. If you think that there's just enough of a decline in his skill set that he can't maximize what he's doing anymore, I think that's reasonable, but it feels like a flimsy explanation. I don't typically want to bet on bounce backs from 34-year-olds, but when you've got the track record that Marcus Semien does, I think it's pretty reasonable to expect him to be a lot better in 2024. I think that whole Rangers lineup is going to be a lot better. And even if it's not, there's not really anything wrong with 23 homers and 101 runs.
Yeah. I was just going to say it was a weird season all around for the Rangers, a bit of a World Series hangover.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully they can all kind of bounce back in conjunction here in 2025. 5 through 8 in the second base rankings, we have Jordan Westburg, Luis Garcia Jr., Nico Horner, and Bryce Terang. Luis Garcia had himself a bit of a breakout, 282 with 18 home runs, 22 steals. He raised the launch angle, and obviously it paid off. He's entering his prime at 25 years old. The questions, Chris, can he hit lefties? Will he play against lefties? And do you think he will run as much? Only 45th percentile in sprint speed.
Yeah, I think the lefties thing is the big question for me because, look, 18 homers, 22 stolen bases, 282 batting average, that's awesome, right? Like that, if that's what we get next season from Luis Garcia, it's going to be hard to complain too much. But what you have to look at is they should play him more against lefties, right? They don't have anything to gain from not playing him against lefties. Whatever marginal improvements they get to their lineup by not playing him against lefties don't really matter. This isn't a contender yet. They might have a better chance of becoming a contender if they find out that Luis Garcia can hit lefties. So I think that should be a priority. I'm worried people are going to draft him as if that is the case in 2025. And that's where I'm going to be out on Luis Garcia because I think, one, the batting average almost certainly is benefiting from not playing against lefties as often as a lot of other everyday players. That'll likely come down 282. Maybe he hits more like 265. But if he plays every day against lefties, he's a 2020 guy. 85 runs, 85 RBI seems reasonable. Like there's a lot to like here. I don't think that should be the expectation. I think the expectation should be something like 2024 again. And if you get more than that, that's great. But I'm not going to pay for that. And I think I'm not going to draft Luis Garcia as a top 100 pick. I worry he's going to be one.
9 through 12 in the second base rankings, you have Xander Bogaerts, Brandon Lau, Luis Rengifo, and Jackson Holliday, who we were all excited about coming into the 2024 season and obviously has not lived up to this. This is basically just a leap of faith pick. Obviously, tons of prospect pedigree. We know progress is not linear. Chris, there is nothing in the major league data so far that says that he's going to break out outside of the fact that he is a top prospect.
Yeah, I think Scott White and I both had the same thought when we put together our initial top 12s here. It's just stick Jackson Holliday at 12 just as a cross your fingers and hope, right? Because like you said, there's nothing in that 60 game sample size to go on. It's a 60 game sample size for a 20-year-old. Jackson Holliday is still younger than most of the guys who were drafted in the first round of this year's MLB draft. So you don't want to overreact to that 60 game sample size. But the big thing for me is he was supposed to be one of the most projectable hit tools among any prospect really in recent years. And then he comes up to the majors. His in-zone contact rate is below average. It was a problem at AAA as well, despite his production. All of a sudden, you're looking at, is the hit tool just average? Does he really need to hit for power to become an impact player? I'm not saying that's the case yet. It's an open question after his first taste of the majors. So just throw him at 12. I'll be willing to take a flyer on him. Not someone I'm going to be feeling great about drafting as my starter for 2025, though.
Again, that's Jackson Holliday. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again on Saturday. Bye-bye.